This episode is an ESL listening practice for intermediate learners. You will hear a natural conversation with clear pronunciation and everyday English. No tests, no pressure, just listening. Let's start.
Hello and welcome to another episode of ESL Listening Practice.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here.
If you're joining us today, you're probably here because you want to take your English skills up to that next level.
Mm-hmm.
And we've specifically designed this conversation for those of you at the B2 level.
Right, that intermediate stage.
Exactly. It's that point where you can understand the main ideas of, a complex text or a conversation, but you might still feel like you need a bit more practice to feel really, truly comfortable.
And if that's you, you're in the right place. We're so happy to have you.
We are. The goal of this show is pretty simple. We just want to create a relaxed, friendly space, a place where you can improve your English comprehension while we talk about some genuinely interesting topics.
It's not about stress.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not about exams.
No, not at all. It's all about learning through listening.
That's exactly right. Listening is, I think, the unsung hero of language learning.
Oh, for sure.
We spend so much time focusing on speaking and grammar rules, but listening is where you really get the natural rhythm of the language, the pronunciation, and, how vocabulary is actually used in context.
And today, we have a topic that I think is going to be really exciting for a lot of our listeners.
I think so, too.
Because it connects the language to something almost everyone loves: adventure.
Yes, travel.
I am definitely excited about this one. So today we're talking about travel, but we're not just talking about it in the general sense of, taking a vacation.
No, we're going a little deeper.
We're going to talk about why English is essential or absolutely necessary for traveling the world. We're going to look at how English really acts as a key that unlocks the entire globe for you.
I love that idea of a key.
To start, I want to ask you, our listener, to just use your imagination for a moment. We're going to do a little visualization exercise.
Yes, let's try this. If you can, I want you to close your eyes. Unless you're driving or walking, of course. Imagine you've just landed in a new country. Let's say it's somewhere you have never been before. Maybe it's Thailand with its really bustling streets.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's Italy with all its ancient architecture. Or perhaps somewhere in South America, like Brazil.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
You step off the plane, you walk into the airport terminal, and you realize something. You don't speak the local language, you can't read the signs in Thai, you don't speak a word of Italian, and you don't know any Portuguese.
And the air is different, the smells are different.
The noise is overwhelming. How do you feel in that moment?
I think for a lot of people, the honest answer would be nervous.
Yeah.
Or, even scared.
Right. It's a feeling of vulnerability.
Vulnerability. Let's break that word down. When we say vulnerability, we mean that state of being exposed to the possibility of being harmed, or really just feeling helpless.
You feel like you've lost control of your environment.
But, and this is where our main point for today comes in, if you have a good level of English, that fear starts to just disappear.
It melts away.
It does. So our thesis, or our main argument today, is that English isn't just a subject you study in school with textbooks and grammar drill. It's actually the ultimate travel tool. It's like a passport to the world.
That is a beautiful way to put it. A passport lets you cross borders legally. It gets you past the immigration officer.
Right.
But English lets you cross borders socially and practically. It allows you to actually function once you're inside the country.
Mm-hmm.
So our educational goal for this discussion is to help you, the listener, understand why this is true. And along the way, we're going to expand your vocabulary related to travel, communication, and personal growth.
And we'll be sure to stop and explain any difficult words or phrases as we go, so don't worry if you hear something new.
That's what we're here for.
Exactly. So let's jump into our first segment. We need to define a term that gets used a lot in, linguistics and in the news.
A very common one.
We need to define what we mean when we say English is a global language. You hear this term all the time, but what does it actually mean in a practical sense for someone who's traveling?
It's a great question. In the context of our discussion, a global language is a language that is spoken internationally, but more specifically, it's often used as a common language.
A common language, or a lingua franca. Now, lingua franca is a phrase we've borrowed from Italian, and it just refers to a language that's adopted as a common language between speakers whose native languages are different.
Just like a bridge.
It is a bridge. That's the perfect metaphor.
I love that image. It connects two separate islands of understanding. Let's look at a specific example to make this really clear.
Okay.
Let's say you have a traveler from Brazil. Their native language is Portuguese, and this traveler decides to visit Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the host in Japan, they speak Japanese. The traveler from Brazil probably doesn't speak Japanese. It's a very difficult language to learn, very. And the host in Japan most likely doesn't speak Portuguese. So they have a gap, a communication gap. How do they talk to each other?
In today's globalized world, and by globalized, we mean a world that's all interconnected through travel, business, the internet.
Everything.
They will almost certainly communicate in English.
Almost certainly. They use English as that neutral ground. Neither of them is a native English speaker. The Brazilian isn't, and the Japanese person isn't, but they both use it to understand each other.
They meet in the middle.
They meet in the middle. That's it.
And that is the magic of it. That's the why behind learning English for travel. It's not just about going to England or the United States or Australia.
No, that's a common misconception, isn't it?
It is. People think, oh, I'm going to France, so I need to learn French.
Yeah.
And, ideally, yes, that's wonderful.
But practically, the reality is that English is understood in so many countries where it isn't an official language. It has a massive scope of reach.
It really does.
The practical reality is that English has just become the standard language for international movement. If you want to move from one side of the planet to the other, the signs, the instructions, the systems, they're usually designed with English as a primary or secondary option.
Which brings us to this concept of the middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
I like that term.
Me too.
It suggests a certain fairness. It means you don't have to be a polyglot to see the world.
And a polyglot, just for our listeners, is someone who speaks many, many languages fluently.
Right. So if you want to visit 20 different countries, let's say you're doing a tour of Europe, you don't need to learn 20 different languages.
That would be impossible for most people.
It would take decades.
A lifetime. Instead, English removes that barrier. It simplifies the very complex problem of global communication.
So by learning this one language, you unlock access to dozens, if not hundreds, of different countries.
It's efficient. And when you're traveling, efficiency saves you time and, just as importantly, energy.
Efficiency is so key when you're traveling. Travel can be exhausting.
Oh, absolutely.
But let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about logistics. When we say logistics, we're talking about the practical organization of a trip.
All the details. How you get from point A to point B, where you sleep, how you eat.
And this is where the stress comes in.
This is definitely where the stress comes in. We've looked at studies about travel anxiety, and communication challenges are consistently the #1 cause of stress.
I believe it.
When you're in a foreign place, confusion is your enemy. Confusion is that feeling when you just don't understand what's happening around you. It creates anxiety, and it can ruin a perfectly good day.
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all been there, that feeling of just being lost and overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break this down into what we can call the big 4 practical scenarios where English saves the day. #1, airports.
Airports. They're like their own little cities, and they can be incredibly stressful environments.
So stressful.
You have security checks, you have to manage your luggage, you have to find your boarding gate, and you often need to talk to the airline staff.
Right. So imagine you're at the airport waiting for your flight, and suddenly there's an announcement over the loudspeaker.
That little chime.
That chime. And a voice says, "Attention passengers, the gate for flight 202 has changed to gate 45. If you understand English, you pick up your bag and you walk to the new gate. It's easy.
Simple, no stress. But if you don't understand English,
You might just sit there, you see everyone else getting up and walking away, and you feel that panic start to rise.
you're thinking, where are they going? Is the flight canceled?
You might miss the announcement entirely and then miss your flight.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare scenario.
It really is. And just being able to ask a staff member, excuse me, where is the gate? Or is this the line for boarding?
Right.
That gives you so much power.
It does. It puts you back in control.
Okay, moving on to #2, hotels. This is another major touch point in any trip.
Mm-hmm.
You have the check-in process. For our listeners, check-in is just that registration process you go through when you arrive at a hotel to get your room key.
Right. And usually it's pretty simple. They ask for your name, your passport, and they give you a key. But what if there's a problem?
There's often a problem.
What if the air conditioning in your room is broken and it's incredibly hot? Or what if the room smells like smoke and you specifically requested a non-smoking room?
You can't just suffer through that. You're paying for a service.
Exactly. You need to be able to explain the problem to the receptionist. You need to be able to say, "Excuse me, my room isn't clean." Or, I have a problem with my reservation.
And a reservation is just the booking you made in advance.
Right. If you can solve these problems with English, you can relax and actually enjoy your stay. If you can't, you're stuck in a bad room feeling frustrated and helpless.
Which is the opposite of what a vacation should be.
For sure. Let's go to number 3, which is my favorite part of travel. Restaurants.
Ah, yes.
The food. Trying new cuisines is one of the best parts of exploring a new culture. But ordering food can be tricky. You want to know what you're eating.
And it's not just about preference. Sometimes it's about health and safety.
A very good point.
If you have an allergy or a dietary restriction, meaning there are certain foods you can't eat for health or religious reasons, you need to communicate that clearly.
You might need to ask, does this dish contain nuts? Or, I'm a vegetarian.
Being able to ask those questions in English ensures you get a meal you can actually enjoy without worrying about getting sick.
And finally, number 4, directions. Getting lost is part of the adventure, as they say.
But staying lost is not fun.
No, it's not. You need to be able to stop a local on the street and ask, which way to the train station? Or, is the museum near here?
And this leads to a really important psychological shift. We're moving from dependence to independence.
Ooh, I like that.
When you don't speak the language, you are dependent. You need a tour guide to hold your hand, or you need to use a translation app for every single interaction.
Or you need a friend to translate for you.
Exactly.
And being dependent can make you feel a bit like a child. It sort of takes away your agency, your ability to act for yourself.
It does. But when you speak English, you become independent. You're an adult who can solve your own problems. You can navigate the city on your own terms.
That is a huge confidence booster.
It changes the way you view yourself. You can walk through a city with your head held high because you know that if a problem comes up, you have the tool English to fix it.
You can handle the situation calmly.
Calmly, that's the key word.
Speaking of handling situations, let's talk about the darker side of travel for a moment. We have to discuss fear and emergencies.
An important topic.
This is our third segment, reducing fear.
Fear is a natural emotion when you're far from home. A lot of people are afraid of traveling alone specifically because of this. They worry, what if I get lost?
What if I misunderstand important information?
What if something bad happens?
English really acts as a safety net here. A safety net is a metaphor we use. In a circus, a safety net catches the acrobat if they fall.
In travel, English catches you when things go wrong. It's your backup plan.
So let's look at information accessibility. This is a bit of a technical term, but it just refers to how easy it is to find the information you need.
And in almost every major tourist destination, you'll see that signs are in the local language and in English. Announcements on trains are in the local language and English. Safety instructions are in English.
So, vocabulary focus here. Announcements are spoken messages given to the public, like over a loudspeaker.
And instructions are just directions on how to do something.
So if you can understand the instructions during an emergency drill or read the announcements about a train delay, you feel safer. You know what's going on.
You're not in the dark. You are informed, which is a much better feeling.
But let's talk about a real emergency scenario. We're talking about health issues, a lost passport, or, interactions with the police.
These are high-stress moments where your heart is beating fast.
Oh, definitely. If you lose your passport, you have to go to an embassy. An embassy is the official office of your country in a foreign land.
Now, when you get there, they will speak your language. But getting there, or explaining what happened to the local police first.
Or if you go to a hospital because you're sick. In those moments, English is almost always the language of communication for foreigners.
And in a crisis, clarity is key. Clarity means being clear and easy to understand.
Yes.
If you have a pain in your chest, you need to be able to tell the doctor, I have chest pain, not struggle with gestures and pointing.
Right. Being able to explain what is wrong saves time. And in an emergency, saving time can be absolutely critical. It reduces panic.
It really does. It prevents a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding is when you think someone said one thing, but they actually said something completely different.
And in a hospital or a police station, a misunderstanding can be very, very serious. English helps you avoid that ambiguity.
So we've covered safety and logistics, but let's take a step back for a moment. Before you even get on the plane, the travel experience begins with planning.
Yes. Segment 4 is all about the planning phase.
The trip really does start weeks or even months before you leave. It starts on your sofa, with your laptop, just surfing the internet.
And here's a simple fact. Most travel information online is written in English.
That's undeniable. The internet is just dominated by English content. If you're researching a trip to, say, Vietnam, and you only speak Spanish,
You're limited.
you're limited to travel blogs and websites written in Spanish. But if you can read in English, you have access to the entire global database of travel advice.
Let's look at the specific resources available. You have airline websites, of course, but you also have reviews. This is a key vocabulary word for today. A review is an opinion or feedback written by someone who has used a product or a service.
And reading hotel reviews is a real skill. You want to read real feedback from other travelers. You want to know, was the bed uncomfortable or was the location noisy?
Was the staff helpful?
Exactly. If you can read these reviews in English on what we call booking platforms, those are websites where you book your stay, like booking.com or Expedia, you can make much better choices.
You can learn from other people's mistakes.
It gives you freedom of choice. That's the real analysis here. If you're limited to your native language, your world of options is much smaller.
English allows for what you could call deep research. You can compare prices, you can compare locations, find the best transportation options.
You're making informed decisions. You aren't just guessing. You're using the wealth of information available in English to build the perfect trip for yourself.
You become a smarter traveler.
Definitely.
Now let's pivot a little bit. We've talked a lot about the brain, the planning, the logistics, the safety. Now I want to talk about the heart. Segment 5 is about connection.
Because ultimately, travel isn't just about seeing buildings or landscapes, is it?
Not at all. It's about people. It's about the interactions you have with fellow human beings.
Absolutely. You can see a picture of the Eiffel Tower online. It's a great picture. But you can't experience a conversation with a Parisian waiter online or a shopkeeper.
So true. We can categorize the people you meet into groups. You've got locals, other travelers, tour guides, maybe your roommates in a hostel.
And English is the thread that connects you to all of them. Imagine you're in a hostel common room. A hostel, for anyone who doesn't know, is a type of budget accommodation where travelers often share rooms and social spaces.
Right, and you might be sitting next to someone from Germany and someone from South Korea.
And you're all sharing stories. You're sharing that common human experience.
Those are the meaningful moments. And here's another great vocabulary word, recommendations. A recommendation is a suggestion or advice on what to do.
Right. Without English, you might feel very isolated. Isolated means feeling alone or separated from others.
It's a lonely feeling.
But with English, you can ask a local, where's the best place to get coffee around here? Or what's a hidden gem in this city?
A hidden gem. I love that phrase. It means a special place that not many tourists know about.
Exactly. And suddenly you're not just a tourist looking at a map, you're finding those special places that aren't in the guidebook.
You might even make international friends. I have friends I met traveling 10 years ago, and we still keep in touch.
In English.
In English.
That's the power of it. Short conversations can turn into lifelong friendships. It makes the trip memorable. It adds emotional value to the money you spent on the plane ticket.
It transforms the experience from passive to active. You're not just observing, you're participating.
Perfectly said.
Okay, moving on to segment 6. Let's go a little deeper into that idea of connection. Let's talk about cultural understanding and respect.
This is so important. Language is often called a window to culture. When you understand the language, you understand the people better.
We need to talk about social norms. A social norm is an accepted behavior in a society. It's like the unwritten rules of how to act.
And traditions. Traditions are customs or beliefs that are passed down from generation to generation.
When you go to a museum or take a guided tour, the explanations of these traditions are almost always in English for the international audience.
And if you don't understand English, you're just looking at an object in a museum. You see a statue, but you don't know what it is or why it's important.
Right. But if you can read the little sign next to it, the placard, or listen to the audio guide,
You gain insight. You understand the history and the context.
it also helps with humor. Humor is so cultural, and understanding a joke or an idiom in a foreign culture is hard.
Very hard.
But often locals will try to joke with you in English. It's a way of bonding, of creating a connection.
And this brings us to the concept of respect. This is crucial.
Yes.
Understanding the explanations helps you avoid cultural misunderstandings. If a sign says, please remove your shoes in English, and you understand it and you do it.
You're showing respect to the host country.
Exactly. You're not being rude by accident. You're navigating their culture with awareness.
And that is a huge part of being a good traveler. being a respectful guest in someone else's home, in their country.
Absolutely.
Now, travel isn't always just for fun and vacation. For many of our listeners, English is a tool for their career.
A professional tool. This is a huge trend. We're seeing a big shift towards professional travel, business trips, international conferences. If you work for a global company, you might be sent to a conference in London or Singapore or Dubai.
And the language of that conference will be English.
Guaranteed. Networking, presenting your ideas, negotiating deals, it all happens in English.
But let's define this term digital nomad. It's a relatively new term, but it has become very popular.
It has. A digital nomad is someone who uses technology to do their job, and so they can essentially work from anywhere in the world.
They have a laptop, they have Wi-Fi.
And they travel while they work. They aren't tied to a desk in one city.
Remote work is another key term here. It means working away from the office, usually from home, or in this case, from a cafe in a different country.
For a digital nomad, English is their lifeline. They need it to rent apartments, to find co-working spaces, to connect with other professionals in their new city.
So mastering English really opens the door to building an international career. It gives you mobility.
And mobility is just the ability to move freely. If you speak English, you aren't tied to the job market in your home country. You can look for opportunities abroad.
It creates a global professional environment for you.
You're competing and collaborating on a world stage, not just a local one. It expands your horizons professionally just as much as travel expands them personally.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Travel pushes people. It forces you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
Your comfort zone is that mental state where you feel safe and at ease. It's familiar.
It's easy.
It's easy. And leaving it is scary, but it's where you grow.
And using English while you travel helps build self-belief.
It's a cycle of success. Think about it. You walk into a coffee shop in New York. You're a little nervous. You order a latte.
And the barista understands you. You get your latte, you pay, you leave.
That sounds so simple, but it's a victory. It's a small win.
It is.
And that win builds your confidence. Then you tackle a bigger challenge, like buying a train ticket or asking for a refund. Every single successful interaction improves your problem-solving abilities.
You start to realize, hey, I can do this.
I can handle this.
But there is a myth that we really need to bust here. We have to talk about the perfection myth.
This is the most crucial message for our listeners today. Please listen carefully to this part.
You do not need perfect grammar to travel.
Not at all. You do not need to sound like a native speaker.
We see so many students who are afraid to speak because they think they're going to make a mistake.
They worry about their verb tenses or their prepositions. They think, is it in the train or on the train?
And you know what? It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't. In a travel situation, the goal is communication, not perfection. If you say, train, where? Instead of the perfectly grammatical sentence, excuse me, could you please tell me where the train is?
Guess what?
People will understand you. They'll point you to the train.
You will find the train.
English is a tool for connection, not a test. No one is grading you.
Nobody is carrying a red pen to mark your mistakes.
Don't let the fear of making mistakes stop you from speaking. The more you speak, the better you get. But you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely. Embrace the imperfections. The fact that you're even trying to communicate in a second language is incredibly impressive. Most native English speakers are actually very impressed by it because many of them only speak one language.
That is so true. I have a confession to make, and honestly, it is a little painful to bring this up again.
Well, this sounds good.
A few years ago, I was at this dinner party feeling very cosmopolitan, chatting with a native English speaker. We were having a great time. The conversation was flowing, and I wanted to sound sophisticated about my upcoming vacation plans.
The classic moment of pressure.
Totally. So with complete confidence, I leaned in and I said, I am planning a travel to Spain.
Oh, no.
And the room didn't go silent exactly, but I saw it.
It's a flicker.
That tiny split-second flicker of confusion in their eyes.
No.
They knew what I meant, but the illusion was just shattered.
Yep.
I thought I had nailed the sentence, but clearly I had missed something fundamental. And that moment, I think, brings us to what is arguably the single most common stumbling block for intermediate learners.
Absolutely.
The B2 learners.
Ah.
When it comes to movement, it is that unholy trinity of confusion: travel, trip, and journey.
That is the classic mistake. It's the one that gives you away instantly. And honestly, I sympathize completely because it's so understandable.
Feels so logical, right?
It's completely logical. In so many languages, French, Spanish, German, Those three concepts might be covered by just one or even two words.
Right.
You have one word that covers the movement, the holiday, the concept, all of it. But in English, the distinction is it's rigid. It's inflexible.
There's no wiggle room.
None. If you mess this up, you immediately sound like you're at a lower level, no matter how good your accent is. So we need to clear this up right now, before we even think about packing a bag.
Please, let's do it, because planning a travel felt so right in my head at the time, it made sense. So let's unpack travel first. Why can't I plan a travel?
Because travel is the general activity. It's a concept, not a specific event.
Okay.
Think of it like the word food or information or furniture. You wouldn't walk into a room and say, I eat a food.
Right. You'd say, I eat some food, or I love food.
Exactly. Travel is an uncountable noun. It describes the broad concept of moving from place to place. It's the hobby, the industry, the lifestyle. When you say, I love travel, especially to warm countries, you are talking about the general idea of seeing the world.
Not a specific instance of leaving my house.
Not at all.
That is actually a really helpful comparison, the food thing. So it's the big umbrella term. I can say air travel is getting expensive because I'm talking about the industry as a whole.
Perfect example.
Or I can say travel broadens the mind because that is a philosophical statement. But I can't count it. I can't say I had 3 travels last year.
Exactly. You cannot count it. It is grammatically impossible in standard English. You can't have 2 travels. It is just the concept.
It just sounds wrong.
Now, there is a very tiny exception in poetic or old-fashioned writing where people talk about someone's travels, usually in the plural, meaning their life's wanderings.
Like Gulliver's Travels.
Precisely. But for a B2 learner wanting to sound natural in, today's world, travel is uncountable. If you want to talk about a specific event where you leave your house, go somewhere, do something, and come back, that is a trip.
A trip. Okay, so that is the container for the event. That is what I should have said at the dinner party. I am planning a trip to Spain.
Precisely. A trip is a countable noun. You can have 1 trip, 2 trips, 3 trips. It's a short or long journey, usually for a specific purpose, whether that's business or pleasure.
And the key mechanics are you go, you stay, and you return.
It's a round thing. You can have a business trip, a day trip, a school trip, a ski trip. They're all discrete, countable events.
And the context here is usually that we go on a trip, right? I feel like I hear people trying to use other verbs there, and it just sounds clunky.
That is the collocation you need to lock in. We go on a trip to Berlin. We don't really make a trip in the same way.
You might hear that sometimes, but it's less common.
Very specific contexts, maybe. But go on is the gold standard.
Yeah.
We certainly don't do a trip.
Oh, never do a trip.
We go on one. It implies participation in an event, like you're along for the ride.
Okay, so we have travel as the general concept, like food. We have trip as the specific holiday or event, like a meal. Where on earth does journey fit in? Because I hear people say life is a journey, or it was a long journey. It feels heavier somehow.
Journey is the bridge. It's the actual physical process of moving from point A to point B.
Ah, the in-between bit.
It's not about the holiday. It's about the friction of movement.
Yeah.
It is the time you spend sitting in the car, the plane, the train, or walking. It emphasizes the distance and the duration.
So when you complain about the flight, you're complaining about the journey.
Exactly. If you say the journey was long but comfortable, you aren't talking about your time in the hotel or the museum. You are strictly talking about the flight or the drive itself.
That's a great distinction. So if I fly to Tokyo for a vacation, the trip is the whole week I spend there, eating sushi, seeing temples, sleeping in the hotel.
The whole experience.
But the journey is just the 12 hours I spent sitting in economy class, watching bad movies, and trying to sleep.
You got it. That is the perfect way to visualize it. The journey is the commute. And often, journey carries a connotation of effort. It suggests it wasn't instantaneous.
So you wouldn't call a 5-minute drive to the supermarket a journey?
Not unless you're being really dramatic, or if you got a flat tire and had to walk.
Right. But a drive across the country, that is a journey.
That is definitely a journey.
So getting back to my dinner party disaster, if I wanted to sound really proficient, I should have distinguished these.
Right. And here is the golden rule, the little mnemonic to keep in your pocket to avoid that embarrassment again.
I need this.
We usually go on a trip, but we make a journey.
Go on a trip, make a journey. I like that. It's simple.
It works. Mastering that distinction is a massive signal to a native speaker. It shows you've moved from a basic B1 level, where you were just translating words from your own language, to a confident B2 user who understands English nuance.
It stops the conversation from pausing.
It keeps the illusion of fluency alive.
I love that. The illusion of fluency, that's really what we're aiming for here. Okay, so we've got the basics of movement down. We aren't going to make that mistake again.
Never again.
Now, let's look at the logistics. Once we decide to go on a trip, we need to talk about where we are going and where we are sleeping. And I feel like B2 learners often get stuck using very basic words here. They say place or hotel for everything. But there are words that sound a lot more sophisticated, right?
Definitely. This is about precision. If you want to sound professional or just more articulate, you stop saying place for where you are going. You start saying destination.
Destination, it sounds so grand, doesn't it? It sounds like something a pilot says, we have reached our destination.
It does, and that's why it works. A destination is specifically the place you're going to. It implies a goal or an endpoint. It has intention behind it.
So it's more than just a location.
Exactly. You wouldn't say Paris is a nice place to go. I mean, you could, but it's flat. It's B1.
Yeah.
You'd say Paris is one of those popular travel destinations in Europe. It frames the location as a target for travelers. It elevates the conversation from chatting to discussing.
It sounds much more intentional. It turns the city into a goal. And once we reach our destination, we need a roof over our heads. Now, most people just say hotel, which is fine if you are staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
But the way we travel is changing. We stay in Airbnbs, hostels, campsites, guest houses. So hotel isn't always accurate anymore. What is the broader term?
Accommodation. This is a powerhouse word for the B2 learner.
Right.
It covers everything. Hotels, hostels, apartments, B&Bs, campsites. It captures the entire category of places to sleep. If you say, we booked our accommodation online, it's a very functional, very adult word.
It is, but can we just take a second to acknowledge the spelling of accommodation? Because I feel like I have seen this misspelled in emails from native speakers, let alone learners.
Oh, it is a nightmare. It is one of those commonly misspelled words in the English language. It's the double rule.
LC, double M.
Double C, double M, ACCOMMOD. TION. If you are writing an email to a client or an essay for an exam like IELTS, getting that spelling right is a badge of honor. It shows real attention to detail.
I always forget the second M, but you made an interesting point about it being a functional word. It feels a bit sterile, doesn't it?
It does.
You wouldn't walk into a friend's really cool Airbnb and say, wow, nice accommodation.
Exactly. That is a crucial nuance. Accommodation is for logistics. It's for booking, for planning, for checking invoices.
For the paperwork side of things.
Yes. It is distinct from home or room. If you walk into your friend's Airbnb, you'd say, this place is great. Or, wow, I love your apartment. You wouldn't say, this accommodation is great, unless you were being funny or sarcastic.
So knowing when to use the big words is just as important as knowing the words themselves.
It's arguably more important.
That is such a good tip. Don't sound like a walking invoice. Okay, so we have our destination. We have booked our accommodation with a double C and a double M. Now we want to look around. We want to do some looking.
Please don't say looking and don't say viewing either. We want to do some sightseeing.
Sightseeing. It's such a classic tourist word, but it's the right one.
It is. It refers to visiting famous or interesting places. We spent the day sightseeing in the Old Town. It implies you are going to the landmarks, the Eiffel Tower, Big Ben, the Colosseum. You're there to see the sights.
And this is strictly a noun, right? The activity of sightseeing. I can't really say I sightsee as a verb, can I? I sightsee every weekend.
You technically can construct that sentence, but it sounds very clumsy to a native ear.
It feels unnatural.
Very unnatural. You usually say go sightseeing or do some sightseeing.
Yeah.
It functions as the name of the activity. You are a spectator of the city. You are consuming the sights.
But here is where it gets really interesting to me. Not all sightseeing is good. We've all been there. You go to a place that is supposed to be amazing. It's on all the postcards. But when you get there, it's just crowded and expensive, and the food is terrible.
The dreaded tourist trap.
I love this phrase. It is so cynical, but it is so useful.
It is essential for a B2 learner because at this level, you need to be able to express critical opinions. You can't just say everything is nice. You need to be able to complain effectively.
Right.
A tourist trap is a place that exists solely to extract money from visitors. The food is usually microwaved, the prices are double what they should be, and there are absolutely no locals in sight.
The restaurant looked nice, but it was a total tourist trap.
Exactly. It implies inauthenticity. Using this word shows you have cultural awareness. You know the difference between a genuine experience and a commercialized one.
It signals that you aren't just a naive tourist.
The chavvy traveler.
Speaking of being savvy and dealing with the commercial aspects, timing is everything. If you want to avoid those tourist traps, or at least the crowds and the high prices, you need to know when to book.
Definitely.
We're talking about the calendar here. Peak season versus off-season.
This is pure practical vocabulary. Peak season is the busiest, most expensive time. Summer in Europe, for example, or Christmas in New York.
Everything costs more.
Everything. And off-season is the opposite.
Yeah.
Quieter, cheaper, maybe the weather isn't perfect, but you save a lot of money.
So you could say something like, hotels are much cheaper during the off-season.
Right. And using these terms helps you in planning discussions. If you are planning a trip with friends, saying, let's go in the off-season to save money, is a very complex, functional suggestion.
It's more than just an opinion.
It shows you can manage logistics in English. It moves the conversation from, I want to go, to how do we make this happen?
That's a great point. It's not just about describing things. It's about solving problems and planning. Now let's shift gears a little bit. We've got our sophisticated nouns, but the real engine of English, the thing that makes you sound less like a textbook and more like a human being, is phrasal verbs. I feel like students are often terrified of these.
They are terrified. And I get it. Phrasal verbs make no logical sense if you try to translate them word for word. Set and off. What does that mean?
Right.
But they are the heartbeat of spoken English. If you stick to formal Latin-based verbs all the time, like depart or register, you sound stiff. You sound like a robot or a lawyer.
Which is fine if you are one, but not in a casual conversation.
Exactly. In travel contexts especially, we use phrasal verbs constantly.
So let's start at the very beginning of the trip. You are leaving your house to start the journey. You could say, we left early, and that's fine. It's correct. But there's a better phrase that captures the excitement.
Set off. We set off early to avoid traffic.
I love set off. It has this feeling of adventure, doesn't it? Like you are embarking on a quest.
It does. It implies the beginning of movement with a purpose. To start a journey is the definition, but set off captures the momentum. It feels active.
It's got energy.
It has energy. Yeah. You can also say set out, which is very similar, but set off is incredibly common for road trips or catching early morning flights. It suggests you have a long way to go.
We set off at dawn. It just sounds epic.
It does.
Okay, so you set off, you make your journey, and you arrive at that destination, or eventually you have to leave your accommodation. You have two non-negotiable terms here.
Check in and check out.
Yeah.
These are fundamental.
Yeah.
You arrive and register at the reception. You check in.
We need to check in after 3 p.m.
Right. And then you pay your bill and leave.
Yep.
You check out. You have to check out by 11 a.m.
It's modern travel logic. You cannot survive a hotel stay without these. But what about when you are actually in the city? You aren't just sitting in the hotel. You need to move from the museum to the restaurant to the park.
That is, get around. To move from place to place within a destination, it's easy to get around the city by metro.
This is a great one because it connects to mobility and public transport. It's not just walking or driving. It's the ability to navigate the system.
Exactly. If someone asks, how did you get around Tokyo? They're asking about your method of transport. Did you rent a car? Did you use Uber? Did you figure out the subway map? It's a question about logistics and your experience with them.
Now, here is a scary one. A phrasal verb for when things go wrong. When your resources hit zero. This is the phrase of nightmares for a traveler.
Or run out of. To have no more of something.
We ran out of cash while traveling. That literally makes my palms sweat.
That's a crisis phrase, isn't it? But the beauty of run out of is that you can use it for anything. You can run out of time, run out of battery on your phone, run out of petrol.
Run out of patience with the airline.
Run out of patience, absolutely. It's essential for describing emergencies or core planning. If you were telling a story and you say, and then we ran out of gas in the middle of the desert.
The listener immediately leans in.
Immediately. They know the stakes have been raised.
It adds drama. Run out of is a storytelling hook. And speaking of drama and adding color to our stories, let's move into the idioms. Because B2 isn't just about function, it's about flavor.
We want to paint a picture. We want to describe how we feel.
Idioms are the spice. They tell the listener about your emotional state regarding the travel. They take a black and white sentence and make it technicolor.
So take this feeling. You've been working hard, sitting at your desk for 6 months, staring at a spreadsheet. The weather is gray, and suddenly you just feel this physical urge to leave.
I know this feeling well.
You need to go somewhere. Anywhere.
You have itchy feet.
To get itchy feet. It sounds a bit medical, doesn't it? Like you need a cream for it.
It does, but please don't go to a doctor for it. It's purely psychological. After 6 months at home, I got itchy feet. It means you have a strong desire to travel or move on.
It's that restlessness.
It captures that fidgety feeling where you just can't sit still anymore. You're ready for a change.
I get that feeling all the time, usually around February. Now, if you have itchy feet and you want to avoid those tourist traps we talked about earlier, you don't want the magnet shops and the overpriced pizza.
Where do you go?
You go off the beaten track.
Off the beaten track. I love the imagery here. The beaten track is the path where everyone walks, right? The grass is worn down to mud because thousands of people have walked there.
Exactly. That is the metaphor. So going off, it means going to a place not popular with tourists. Secluded, authentic, quiet. They visited small villages off the beaten track.
So this is the positive counterpart to the tourist trap.
It's the goal. If you want to sound like an adventurous, sophisticated traveler, this is what you're looking for. You want to find the hidden gems.
And if you manage to find that perfect village off the beaten track and you see something incredible, maybe a tiger in the wild or the northern lights, you might describe it as something that will never happen again.
A once-in-a-lifetime trip.
Going on safari was a once-in-a-lifetime trip.
This carries so much emotional weight. It tells the listener that this wasn't just a holiday. It was a peak life experience. It adds magnitude to your story. It justifies the cost, the effort, the long journey.
Now, to do all this, to get around easily, to go off the beaten track where maybe there aren't any paved roads, you usually need to adopt a certain philosophy regarding your luggage.
Oh, yes.
You can't be dragging 3 giant suitcases behind you.
You need to travel light.
I prefer to travel light and take only a backpack.
This is more than just a description of weight. It's a mindset. It means you aren't burdened by material things. You are flexible, mobile, ready to set off at a moment's notice. It implies a certain freedom.
I wish I could travel light. I'm definitely an overpacker. I'm the person who brings a hairdryer to a camping trip, just in case.
You and me both. Just in case is the most dangerous phrase in the English language when you are packing.
It really is.
But saying, I like to travel light, makes you sound very efficient and cool, even if you are secretly struggling to close your suitcase.
So true. Okay, we have the words, the phrases, the idioms. We know the difference between a trip and a journey. Now we need to put them into a story. Because at the B2 level, we aren't just listing facts anymore, are we? We aren't just answering an interrogation. Where did you go? Spain? Was it good? Yes. That's so boring.
That is the shopping list style of speaking.
Right.
And it is fatal for conversation. It kills the vibe. At B2, you need to elevate the narrative. You need to describe feelings, impressions, and contrasts. You need to structure your experience so the listener actually cares.
So instead of just listing places, how do we highlight a specific memory? How do I tell you what was the best part without just saying the best part was?
You can use the phrase, what impressed me most was.
I like that structure.
This structure, it's called a clef sentence, technically. It shifts the focus. It acts like a spotlight.
So what impressed me most was the hospitality of the locals.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You are singling out a specific element and telling us why it mattered. It invites the listener to understand your perspective. It's much stronger than the locals were nice.
What impressed me most implies you've actually reflected on it.
Yes, that you thought about it.
And what if something surprised you? What if you went to the desert expecting it to be hot, but you were freezing?
One thing I didn't expect was...
One thing I didn't expect was how cold it gets at night in the desert.
Exactly. This introduces contrast. It shows you had expectations and the reality was different. That is a complex cognitive process expressed simply. It adds a little plot twist to your story.
I like that, a plot twist. And when you want to identify the absolute best moment, the peak, the cinematic climax of the movie.
The highlight of the trip was...
The highlight of the trip was watching the sunset over the ocean.
This functions as the climax of your story. Every good story needs a highlight. If you just list things, we went to the beach, then we ate, then we slept, everything has equal weight. It's a flat line.
Right, there's no arc.
But if you say the highlight was, you're telling the listener, focus on this part. This is the important bit.
And finally, looking back, maybe with a bit of regret or a wish for the future, maybe the trip was too short.
The second conditional. A beautiful piece of grammar. If I had the chance, I would.
If I had the chance, I would stay for another week.
This expresses hypothetical desire. It shows you can manipulate time and grammar to express feelings about the experience. It's a very elegant way to end a story about the past.
That is really the key, isn't it? Moving from facts to feelings. But let's be real for a second. We've been painting a very rosy picture of travel. Sunsets, highlights, hospitality. But not all feelings during travel are positive. Sometimes things go wrong, horribly wrong.
Travel is reality, and reality has problems. In fact, travel is often just a series of problems that you solve in a nice location.
That's a very cynical but accurate way of putting it.
And you need the vocabulary to complain, to explain, and to solve those issues. You can't just smile and nod when you're stranded at an airport at 2 a.m.
Let's talk about transport issues first. The classic duo that ruins everyone's day.
Flight delay and cancellation. You need to know the difference. A delay means you are going late. A cancellation means you aren't going at all.
And crucially, you need to be able to explain the consequence.
That's the key.
So, our flight was delayed, so we missed our connection.
Notice the so. That is a crucial connector. Cause and effect. The delay happened, which is the cause, and the result was missing the connection, the effect. Being able to link these two events clearly is vital when you are arguing with an airline agent at the desk.
You have to make your case. What about when you arrive, but your bag doesn't? That sinking feeling when the carousel stops moving and your suitcase isn't there?
Lost luggage. It's simple, but you need to know it to file a claim. My luggage is lost. Or, the airline lost my luggage. It's direct and clear.
And here is a tricky one regarding hotels. Sometimes you book a room, you have the confirmation email, you show up tired and happy, and they look at you and say, sorry, no room.
Overbooked. The hotel is overbooked.
Explain that concept, because it just seems like fraud to me. How can they sell something they don't have?
It feels like fraud, but it's standard practice in the industry. It means they sold more tickets or rooms than they actually have available.
On purpose.
On purpose. They are banking on the fact that some people wouldn't show up. It's a statistical gamble. But sometimes everyone shows up. So you need to be able to say, the hotel was overbooked, and they had to move us to a different hotel.
That is so frustrating. But perhaps the biggest hurdle, and the most relevant one for our listeners learning English, is when you just can't understand each other. When words fail.
The language barrier.
We struggled a bit with the language barrier.
This is a meta phrase. It describes the difficulty of communication itself.
Yeah.
And, acknowledging a language barrier is actually a sign of good communication skills.
How so?
It shows you are aware of the gap.
Yeah.
It's much better to say, sorry, there is a language barrier. Can you speak slowly? Than to just stare blankly and get frustrated.
Absolutely. It takes the pressure off both people. Now, speaking of language skills, one of the hallmarks of an advanced learner, someone who is truly B2 or C1, is the ability to shift register.
Yes.
To change how you speak based on who you are talking to.
The formal versus informal distinction. This is the B2 upgrade. When you are a beginner, you just want to be understood. You use simple words. But at B2, you want to fit in. You want to sound professional when writing a complaint and cool when talking to a friend.
You stop using basic adjectives and start using more precise vocabulary when the situation demands it.
Exactly.
Let's do a comparison. Let's say you are writing a review on TripAdvisor. Informal. Cheap hotel. It sounds a bit gritty, a bit negative.
It does. Cheap can imply low quality, dirty, maybe even unsafe. If you write, it was a cheap hotel, it sounds like a criticism. The B2 upgrade is affordable accommodation.
Affordable accommodation. That sounds positive. It sounds like you managed your budget well. It sounds like a recommendation for other budget-conscious travelers.
Exactly. If you're writing a review or sending an email to a client recommending a place, you use affordable. It respects the value.
Comparison number 2. Nice place. We stayed in a nice place. It's okay, but it's so bland it tells me nothing. It's the vanilla ice cream of descriptions.
It's the lazy option, the upgrade. Pleasant location.
Pleasant location. It sounds descriptive. It sounds calm and positive.
It sounds professional. It's suitable for a travel blog or a formal recommendation. The hotel is in a pleasant location near the park. It paints a picture.
And finally, one that comes up all the time. Lots of tourists. There were lots of tourists.
The B2 version. Crowded with tourists. Or even just, it was very crowded. Crowded paints a clearer picture of the density.
It's more specific. Lots of is vague. Crowded implies you were bumping shoulders.
You can feel it.
So this matters for things like writing reviews.
Reviews, emails to hotels to ask for refunds or upgrades, and definitely for speaking exams like IELTS or TOEFL. If you use nice and cheap in an exam, you get a B1 score. It's functional, but basic.
Okay.
If you use pleasant location and affordable accommodation, you are pushing into the higher bands. You are showing range.
That is a pro tip right there. Upgrade your adjectives to upgrade your score, or to get better service.
Precisely. Polite, formal language often opens doors that informal language keeps closed.
You know, it's pretty incredible when you think about it, but travel has it's fundamentally transformed in the last few decades.
It really has.
It's gone from being this rare luxury, something that was maybe a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Right. Something for the very wealthy or for a very specific occasion.
Exactly. If you look back, say, 30 or 40 years ago, the idea of just hopping on a plane to another continent was, well, it was for a very narrow slice of society.
The elite business class, that sort of thing.
For sure. It was an event, not a habit. But today, if you look around, the landscape it's entirely different.
It's been democratized in a way.
That's the perfect word for it. It's become a common activity for people from all sorts of economic backgrounds. We're seeing university students, young professionals, families. Everyone is exploring the globe in a way that would have been, unimaginable for their parents' generation.
That's a very accurate observation, and I think it sets the stage perfectly for what we're talking about today.
It really feels like one of the biggest cultural shifts of our time.
It is. The barriers to entry for travel have just been lowered so significantly. Technology, for one, has made booking a trip as easy as a few taps on your phone.
Right. No more travel agencies and paper brochures.
And not unless you want that experience.
Yeah.
And flights themselves are cheaper, relatively speaking. But I think there's also been this global cultural shift that really embraces exploration as a key part of personal growth.
That's a great point. And when we look at the numbers, they tell a really fascinating story, especially about resilience.
They do. Actually, there's a specific phrasal verb that I think is perfect for describing what happened recently with travel, and that is bounced back.
Oh, that's a great one. Let's pause on that for a second, because bounced back is something you hear all the time in business and economics.
Exactly. And for anyone listening, to bounce back just means to return to a good state or condition after a bad period.
Like a ball.
Precisely. You drop a ball, it hits the floor, but it doesn't stay there. It springs right back up. That's the image. And, we all know what happened during the pandemic.
A complete standstill.
Total standstill, planes were grounded, but the industry has bounced back with just incredible speed. It didn't slowly recover, it surged.
And the numbers back that up.
They do. According to recent data, we're now seeing over 1.4 billion international trips made every year.
1.4 billion. That's a staggering number.
It is, isn't it? It just shows this deep, intrinsic human desire to move, to see new things.
That figure is truly mind-boggling. It puts into perspective just how busy our airports are, but I think it's also important to distinguish between the types of travel people are doing. We tend to focus on international travel.
Getting the passport stamped.
Right. But there's this other massive category we can't overlook, and that's domestic travel.
Domestic travel is the quiet giant of the industry, for sure.
So let's clarify that term domestic for everyone. When we talk about doing something domestically, we mean traveling within your own country.
The opposite of international. It could be for a holiday, for work, to see family in another state.
And it's interesting because while international trips get the big headlines and the Instagram posts, the domestic travel numbers are often even higher. People are exploring their own backyards, so to speak.
That's a crucial distinction. It's really the backbone of the tourism industry in many large countries like the US or China. But whether people are going abroad or staying home, there's another major shift happening in terms of values.
What's that?
It's this idea of prioritizing experiences over material objects.
Ah, yes. The experience economy.
Exactly. In the past, maybe the ultimate status symbol was a new car or a fancy watch, something tangible you could own.
Something you could show off in your house.
Right. But today, for a lot of people, especially younger generations, the priority has shifted to buying memories. They'd rather spend their money on a flight, a tour, a unique cultural moment.
It's the story of the trip versus the item on the shelf.
That's it. And that psychological shift explains so much about why those 1.4 billion trips are happening.
Okay, so we've established that everyone is traveling and they're doing it to collect these experiences. The next logical question is, where is everyone actually going?
Where are they all headed?
If we look at the data, we can identify what you might call the titans of tourism. These are the cities that consistently top the lists year after year, the heavy hitters. Let's start with the big five.
Sounds good.
First on that list, and often right at the top, is Bangkok, Thailand.
Bangkok is a fantastic place to start because it's a city of extreme contrasts.
Yeah.
It's a place that just assaults the senses but in the best possible way.
In what way?
Well, the data always highlights this tension between ancient temples and vibrant street life. And let's maybe focus on that word vibrant for a moment.
Good idea.
When we describe a place as vibrant, we mean it's just full of energy, full of life, full of color. It's the total opposite of dull or quiet.
So Bangkok streets are vibrant.
Incredibly so. They're always busy, the markets are loud and colorful, there's constant movement, and you have that right next to the serenity of these ancient golden Buddhist temples. That mix of chaos and calm is just intoxicating for travelers.
That makes a lot of sense. So moving from the energy of Southeast Asia, let's head to Europe. Paris, France, is another non-negotiable member of this club.
Of course. Paris has a reputation that just precedes it.
It really does. It's arguably the most famous city in the world for a very specific set of things.
Yeah.
Museums, fashion, and, of course, romance.
People go to Paris with an idea of what Paris is already in their heads.
Exactly. The Louvre, the
Right.
Eiffel Tower. It's a city that sells a dream. Then just across the channel, you have London.
London offers a slightly different flavor. It's really defined by that mix of rich history and modern culture.
You can literally walk past a 1,000-year-old building like the Tower of London and then, turn a corner and be staring at a skyscraper that was finished last year.
That layering of history is what makes it so compelling. Paris and London are sort of the old guard of tourism. They've been popular for centuries.
True. Which makes our next one really interesting, Dubai.
Ah, yes. Dubai represents something entirely new. The new kid on the block, in a way.
So what are the key descriptors for Dubai?
The words you always see are luxury experiences and futuristic architecture.
Okay, let's break down futuristic.
It's an adjective we use to describe something that looks like it belongs in the future. It implies that it's super modern, advanced, maybe using technology or design that feels ahead of its time.
And the Dubai skyline is the definition of that.
Absolutely. The Burj Khalifa, the man-made islands, it looks like science fiction brought to life. People go there to see what sheer ambition and money can build in the desert.
Right. And to round out our big five, we have to talk about New York City.
The capital of the world, as they say.
It's a global center for everything, culture, finance. It just has this relentless energy that people find addictive. So when we look at these five, Bangkok, Paris, London, Dubai, New York, we have to ask, why them?
What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, why do they consistently dominate? I think the answer is that they offer something for every persona of traveler. Whether you're a foodie, a history buff, a luxury tourist, or a shopaholic, these cities have you covered. They're comprehensive destinations.
That's a key point. They're all-rounders. You don't go there for just one thing. You go because they offer the complete package.
But of course, the world is much bigger than just five cities.
Oh, absolutely. We need to expand the map a bit and look at what you might call the second tier.
These are still major players, right? Just maybe targeting a more specific audience.
Exactly. Take Bali in Indonesia. It's synonymous with beaches and nature. It attracts a crowd looking for relaxation, surfing, spirituality. It's a very different vibe from the urban chaos of Bangkok.
And then you have Tokyo.
Tokyo is a fascinating case study in juxtaposition. You have the absolute highest level of technology robots, bullet trains, neon everywhere.
Right next to ancient traditions.
Deep tradition. Tea ceremonies, shrines, strict etiquette. It's that blend of old and new that makes Tokyo so magnetic.
And we can't forget places like Barcelona in Spain.
Famous for its art and architecture, Gaudi's influence makes it look like no other city on earth.
Or Rome, for that matter. If you love ancient history and food, Rome is the ultimate destination. It's like an open-air museum.
You can just be walking down the street and stumble upon a 2,000-year-old column.
Yeah.
And then there's Sydney, Australia.
Which brings that coastal beauty and outdoor lifestyle into the mix. So we have this incredible list of places, but I want to dig deeper into the why. Why do these specific places succeed? I think we can break it down into four main pillars of popularity.
This is where we get into the mechanics of tourism. It's not just magic. There are very real structural reasons why these places win. The first pillar is accessibility.
Okay, that's a really important word. Let's make sure we understand it.
For sure. Accessibility just refers to how easy it is to reach or enter a place. In travel terms, that means having major international airports, lots of flight connections, good public transport when you arrive.
So a place could be beautiful, but if it's impossible to get to.
It won't become a top global destination. It might be a niche spot for adventurers, but not for the masses. Cities like London and Dubai are huge global hubs. They're accessible from almost anywhere in the world.
That makes sense. Ease of access is huge. What's the second pillar?
The second is culture and history. This is about the substance of the place. What is there to actually see and do?
The famous landmarks.
Exactly. And let's clarify that word landmark. A landmark is an object or a feature, like a building or a monument, that's easily recognizable and usually has historical importance.
The Colosseum in Rome, the Statue of Liberty in New York.
Precisely. People want to see these things with their own eyes. There's a huge educational component to travel. We're curious. We want to connect with the past.
Right, so you need things for people to see. What's number 3?
The third pillar is safety and infrastructure. And this brings us to a really essential word, infrastructure.
That's a big one. Let's unpack what that really means for a traveler.
Right. So infrastructure refers to all the basic physical and organizational structures a society needs to function. We're talking about roads, subway systems, a reliable electrical grid, good internet, hotels, hospitals.
All the things you take for granted until they don't work.
Exactly. Travelers need to feel comfortable. They need to know the light will turn on, the bus will show up, that they can get around easily. If a place has poor infrastructure, it becomes very difficult for the average tourist.
And safety is obviously tied into that.
Hand in hand. People need to feel safe walking down the street. That's a fundamental requirement.
Okay, so we have accessibility, culture and history, and safety and infrastructure. What's the final pillar?
The fourth is global recognition. This is basically the concept of fame.
The brand power of a city.
That's a perfect way to put it. People tend to visit places they already know about. It's a self-fulfilling cycle. Paris is famous, so people go, they take photos, they post about it, and it becomes even more famous.
And that actually leads us perfectly into the next major theme here, the social media revolution. We really can't talk about modern travel without talking about the internet. The way we choose where to go today is radically different from how we did it even 10 years ago.
The shift has been seismic. Back then, you might have used a physical guidebook or a travel agent. Today, the whole process is dominated by platforms like Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok.
So what has that created?
It's created what we call the influencer economy. Let's focus on that word, influencer.
A term that didn't really exist 15 years ago.
Right. An influencer is basically an individual who has the power to affect the decisions of others because of their authority or their relationship with their audience online.
In the travel world, these are people who share their experiences with a huge following.
Exactly. They post these beautiful, highly edited photos, videos of amazing food, and they make a point of highlighting what they call hidden gems.
And influencers love to be the ones to discover them.
They thrive on it, but they also create other types of content, like vlogs.
Another new word.
It's a combination of video and blog. So a vlog is just a blog in video form. A travel vlogger might document their entire day, what they ate, where they went. It gives the viewer this very immersive feeling, like they're right there.
And that content can have a huge impact.
It creates what we call the viral effect. Something goes viral when it spreads incredibly rapidly across the internet. A single photo or video can literally change the destiny of a location.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure, think of a quiet, pristine beach somewhere in Southeast Asia. For decades, only locals knew about it. Then an influencer with 1 million followers posts one stunning photo of the sunset there.
And suddenly,
thousands of people want to go to that exact spot to get that exact photo. Or think of a small family-run cafe in a village. A YouTuber features it in a vlog, and within weeks, there's a line of tourists around the block.
It's the power of the visual. Influencers make travel look so desirable, so easy, so fun.
They curate reality. They show the best possible version of it. And that inspires people to go to places they never would have even considered before. It opens up the world.
But, and there's always a but.
Yeah.
We have to look at this critically. It feels like a double-edged sword.
It absolutely is. There are pros and cons. It is not all black and white.
Okay, let's start with the positives. What's the upside of this social media effect?
Well, the most obvious benefit is discovery. As we just said, people find out about lesser-known places, and this helps spread tourism money around away from just the big capital cities.
So it can have a positive economic impact.
A huge one. For small towns and local communities, getting discovered can mean a major boost in tourism income. It can help small businesses thrive, pay for better facilities. It can be a lifeline.
And there's an educational side to it too, right?
I think so. You could find cultural insights on social media that you just wouldn't get from a traditional guidebook. A guidebook tells you about the museum hours, but an influencer might show you the proper way to order street food or how to behave respectfully in a temple. That peer-to-peer knowledge is valuable.
Okay, so there are clear benefits. But now we have to address the negatives. And this brings us to maybe the most important term of this whole discussion. Over-tourism.
Yes, this is the big one.
It's a compound word, over plus tourism. Let's break that down.
It's pretty straightforward, actually.
Sure.
Over-tourism describes the situation when too many visitors arrive in a specific place and the local environment or the community becomes overwhelmed.
It's when tourism stops being a benefit and starts becoming a burden.
Exactly. And we're seeing this everywhere, from major cities to delicate natural environments. It's a really serious issue.
What are some of the consequences? What does over-tourism actually look like on the ground?
Well, popular destinations just become incredibly overcrowded. You go to a museum, but you can't see the art because there are 500 people in front of you holding up their phones. The streets become impassable.
And I imagine it must be very difficult for local residents.
It can be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Prices for housing and daily goods go up. Their quiet neighborhoods become noisy and packed. And in the worst cases, places start to lose their original character.
What do you mean by that?
The very thing that made the place special in the first place. Its quiet charm, its authenticity, gets destroyed by the sheer volume of people who came to see it.
It's a tragic irony, isn't it?
It really is. We end up destroying the thing we love by loving it too much.
That really sums up the conflict perfectly. It's this delicate balance between wanting to support a local economy and not destroying the very thing that makes a place worth visiting.
A very, very delicate balance. And that leads me to a reflective question for you, the listener. Think about your own travel habits for a moment. When you choose a destination for your next holiday, why are you choosing it? Is it because you have a genuine interest in the history and culture of that place? Or is it perhaps because you saw a stunning photo on social media and you want to recreate that exact image for yourself? And look, there's no right or wrong answer here, but it's worth thinking about the why behind our travel choices.
That is a great question to ponder. And I guess I'll just leave everyone with a final thought on that idea of responsibility. As we move forward in this new era of global travel, how can we be better guests?
That's the key question.
The world is open to us, but we don't own it. How do we explore it without contributing to this problem of over-tourism? How can we visit a place and maybe leave it even a little bit better than we found it? Perhaps the future of travel isn't just about going to more places, but about going to places more thoughtfully.
Well said.
Safe travels wherever you may go.
Goodbye and travel well.